Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Boomer Bytes podcast. I'm Agi Anderson, your host, coming to you from Mars Mission Control on Merritt Island. Yes, I do live on Mars, on Merritt Island. This is episode 13, and today I'm so excited to have Kerry Fink, the executive director of Helping Seniors of Brevard. And he spent years connecting seniors and their families with trusted resources, helping them navigate life's transitions with confidence. Kerry, thank you for joining me today. Before we dive
Oh,
into this really important discussion, tell me about your role at helping seniors and your mission there.
oh, you're so kind. Thanks for having me. So I'm part of an organization called Helping Seniors of Brevard. We are a 100% local to Brevard charity because we really do believe that if you're going to build a network that helps seniors, it's going to be locally based. I mean, you have your doctors, you have your family, you have your everything that you need is like really local. And so, 15 years ago, when Helping Seniors launched onto the landscape, founded by a guy named Joe Steckler, who himself had built up Brevard Alzheimer's and got Joe's clubs and things like that built in our area, he said, Kerry, there's more work to do for seniors. We've got to have a place people can call and get information. What we do is called senior navigation. People are running into stuff for the first time, and we want to be there to offer as much information and guidance as we possibly can to get them to the next safe harbor. And so that's what our role is. I'm the executive director of the organization, and I have the privilege of working with wonderful people like you, Augie, while we're trying to make life better for our seniors.
Indeed, indeed. Well, I appreciate the time that you've put today. I think this is very important because this today's topic is resources for the life's golden age people that they need to plan. So in episode 12, from tsunami to gold, I talked about the largest demographic in American history, and that about 10,000 Americans turned 65 every single day. And that is not just changing older adults, but their children and their caregivers and their loved ones as well. I myself am a baby boomer, and I have a mother from the previous generation who is going to be 92 in August. She's very vibrant. Fortunately, I have a very healthy mother. She's diminishing, but she's takes care of herself, lives in her own home. She just stopped driving, which she hates. But that being said, I am one of these people. And understanding the numbers is only the beginning. The real question is, how do we prepare for life's inevitable transitions? Is your organization? I've met some nice people because you're covering, which we'll get into, about you need a team. Today we're living longer. Okay, you need a team. You need a team. It's like you don't go out on the football field and go, let's just see what happens. You got a whole strategy, right? So, one of the conversations you and I have had in the past is reaching people before crisis. Do you feel like you reach people before crisis?
You know, it's an interesting conversation that you ask the question that way because the answer is yes, we do, but not often enough. And, we've operated the Senior Information Helpline, which is a free call here in Brevard County. It's okay, I'll give that number. It's 321-473-7770. And we took over 4,500 calls last year from seniors and their families trying to sort out whatever was on the road in front of them. We love it when we get a call from somebody that is trying to figure and they got a 6 month horizon and we can think about lots of creative ideas and things like that. We also take a lot of calls from folks who, my mom is going to be discharged from hospital Monday. They say she can't come home safe. What are we going to do? And then we find ourselves working with all of that. And that's why, really, Augie, one of the main things that we've learned along the way is why we try to be so proactive about educating people because Joe called it making an aging plan. We call it helping you get your ducks in a row. But just like those of us who live in Florida understand a hurricane plan does not mean you want a storm. It means that you're already starting to think about things that might impact your life, and you're going to be prepared as best as you can. And that just always makes the going easier if tough stuff comes along.
Yes, I agree. And now it's, we're helping families, but the younger seniors, younger than, Gen Xers now coming up who are planning for retirement and the next chapter of their life, I find, I just, I'm this person that'll come up and go, do you have a trust? Do you have this? Do you have that? Do you have a living will? I'm curious because I love talking about, and you know how many people say no more than it should be. We have to help people understand the value of planning. We're living longer. We have to plan better. Many of us in the baby boomer generation are finding ourselves in a unique position. We're helping parents like I am who were not taught to prepare for longevity because no one realized back then you'd be living to 90, 100, and all this kind of stuff. It's a whole nother realm for not just Florida, but the whole planet. Everyone. I have a family in Hungary, facing the same thing. So it's everywhere. And we have to help them navigate the life transition so they can glimpse into the future and go, I'm prepared for this. I'm prepared. Are you going to have enough money to live to a 90? Are you going to have a housing? There's many, many things. Do you have a living will? Do you have a trust account? Are you going to need I have durable power of attorney for my mother. You might need that. You can't ask them when they're in a hospital bed and they're now
Right.
not cognizant enough to make these decisions. Last
Right.
year, I went with my mother, and we went and I suggest this to everyone. I went with my mother and reviewed her trust. My brother was still in it, who died in 2011. My brother died, and he was still in the trust, and that would have complicated things. Trust me. It seems like, oh yeah, well that could be. No, we had to fix a lot of stuff to update. So don't think you have a trust, you never have to look at it again. That is not a good idea. Would you agree?
Oh, totally. I was going to tell you, you hit on so many points right there. We work with a lot of the elder law attorneys, and a couple of things that I just wanted to bring up is like number one, the elder law attorneys, they're also very good at resolving challenges. But if you bring them the challenge where something has already happened, a family member is had a stroke or something, is in the hospital, non-responsive, or dementia is set in, or something like that, and it's not just simple like, oh, I can go change all this paperwork. Like, no, you can't. Now you're stuck with legal routes called guardianship and things like that, which are very expensive, very intrusive, very time consuming. All of these things can be avoided when you get like a little bit ahead of the curve, or like we were talking about getting your ducks in a row. But the second half of that part is exactly what you said too, is that when you have these paperworks and things organized, you are giving yourself a whole lot of peace because you know that you put your ducks in a row, and it's also because you love your family. You don't want to have them get into fusses and go, well, I think mom would have wanted this,
Yeah,
and
and
the
it
other one
happens
says
every day of the
no.
week.
You know it. So what you're saying is so important, Augie.
Well, I believe that our generation has the opportunity to do things differently. That's why I created the Pro Age Smart Life. It's about making smart decisions, smart choices for your future, because your future will arrive. It's arrived for me. I turned 70 this year. It's like, what? How did that arrive? But it did. It did. We think, oh my God, that's never going to happen. And it does. So being a proactive pro-ager means planning ahead, making intentional decisions, creating a support system you'll need long before life requires it. Would you agree?
Oh, totally. And as I said before, even we began the podcast and talking together, I said what I love about what you came up with, Pro Ager, is it works on so many levels. First of all, if you think about it, one of the reasons I do like the term senior, and I got to tell you, for a while I was kind of anti quote the word senior because it's not given the respect it deserves. You know, like if you work really hard in your company, what do you become? You become a senior vice president. You become the senior executive in charge of. It means this person has gained wisdom and knowledge and they're very competent at what they do. And with life, if we're a senior, we should have learned something from all the things we've been through. And now we're in a unique position to enjoy the rest of our lives. But the second, so that's why I like pro ager, because what you're saying is you've gone from being an amateur at life, right?
Yes,
To now you're a pro.
pro
You're
baby.
not
I'm
gonna
a
you're not gonna
pro.
be surprised by the stuff that comes up in the way that you might have been when you were 20 or 30 and stuff just knocked you down and took the wind out of you. Now, as a pro, you understand this and you're able to work it. The other reason I like pro is it's very positive, right? Instead of being against something, you're for something. And I think there's never been a better time for us to grow older than right now. I was thinking when you were talking about the age, you know, every once in a while I'll have to show my driver's license for something, and I look at that number and I go, that's not even possible that I could have reached that age. But I also think it's different. You remember, it's not that long ago that they would stop down a national news morning show and Willard Scott would highlight the two people in America who turned 100 that day
Yeah.
and send them a case of jam. You know, and today where we are, the thing to your point is we have more seniors than ever before, particularly here in Florida for three reasons. One, more people are turning 65, which you pointed out. But number two, people are just flat living longer, so we have more on the upper end. And then the third reason is so many people are choosing Florida to live in, so the population keeps growing like that. But so when you say pro ager, number one, it indicates you've got some experience. Number two, it indicates you're positive. But then the third thing, and this is why I really like it too, is that you are attacking it with the right intentions. Meaning, if you're a professional, it's not just a game. You're going to make sure that you do this to the best of your ability, and it's a positive message. That's what I think is so brilliant about what you came up with when you coined that term.
Well, thank you. It has been a calling for me, and I feel that when you're a messenger, it's a responsibility to send out the message. That's how I feel.
Yes.
And now, I think that this has to be an integral part of how you evolve, which we've talked about, is creating a life transition team, right?
Mhm.
A life transition team. You really do need team players. And the beautiful thing is, you don't have to hire this team full time. You're hiring them in intervals. So, um, just as we build a team to help us buy a home, raise a family, prepare for retirement, we should trust the team to navigate us through golden transitions. You know, how we will evolve, because the time to prepare for life's transitions is before we have issues. We have to be of sound mind. When families prepare before a crisis, they have more choices, they make better decisions, and they're better equipped to honor the people they love and honoring themselves for doing their own plan. So, why this conversation matters when people talk about aging population? The conversation usually focuses on housing, healthcare, the economy, but today I want to focus on something more important: how families can prepare before life forces decisions that are complicated and now you don't have a responsive person. Preparation doesn't eliminate life's challenges, but it provides clarity, confidence, and peace of mind that I think are what families really, truly need. We live in a hectic, crazy world now. We need as much peace as we can get. So, Kerry, tell me, what do seniors need the most when they're calling in for help?
So we get calls about everything. You know, life just happens, right? And so you can have calls about legal, medical, financial, transportation. We've had people looking for resources for their animals, and all kinds of different things come up. What I would say to you is one of the reasons that we're so big on educating people about getting ahead of the aging curve, or what we call making that aging plan, getting your ducks in a row, is because we see the calls. And so we say, wow, this person could have saved tens of thousands of dollars and so much stress if they had just done this one thing 30 days before so and so found themselves in the hospital and unresponsive or something like that.
Right.
And so we do this thing called Knowledge College for Aging. This is an ongoing training class, and we actually talk about 7 pillars that make up this plan. These are the modules, if you will, of your aging plan. An aging plan seems a little serious and harsh, but it's no different than a hurricane plan. Like,
Right.
what are you going to do if they tell you a category 4 or 5 is headed your way? What are you going to do? Are you going to evacuate? Are you going to stay put? And if so, what preparation are you going to make? Two of the things that we say so often, Augie, when we're having these classes, which, by the way, if you want to learn more about helping seniors and all of these classes, just visit helpingseniorsofbrevard.org. But my point that I wanted to get into was, we're always telling people, when you look at this, don't try this on your own. So, like, we live here in Brevard County, which is often called the Space Coast. So by definition, we have a lot of rocket scientists here. They're launching stuff almost every week. And, by definition, we could say we have some of the smartest people on the planet right here because they are rocket scientists. However, as wise as you are in one area does not make you smart in another. And a lot of times we'll get a lot of false confidence. Oh, I know how to do an online search and figure whatever this question is out. And in particular now with AI, people think we're really smart because we'll just ask the AI and say, what should we do? But that's not a substitute for having somebody that really understands the lay of the land, knows the local outlook, knows what's the good, the bad, and the ugly. I often say this. You've probably heard the expression, Augie, that the person who decides to be their own attorney in like a legal case has a fool for a client. Because even though you may be right and you have every point thought out correctly, you don't understand the nuances of navigating the legal system. So even though you might be right in principle, you could still lose because you don't know how that game is played. And I would extrapolate that to everything that we're talking about aging. You could do your research online. You could say, like, okay, I think this is how I'm going to handle that. But all of a sudden, you get thrown into a situation where the pressure can be very intense. The folks want decisions right now because we've got to decide if we're going to do this or if we're going to do that. And you haven't had the chance to do the homework, and you can't press a pause button. As a caregiver yourself, you can't press a pause button. You've got to get ahead of that curve. And it's so much easier and so less stressful when you can do that.
I agree so much. I agree so much. And perhaps just importantly, what resources do you wish people knew more about before they found themselves in the middle of a crisis?
I wish they would take advantage of the programs that we do our best to offer at Helping Seniors, because what we are really we have no reason to exist other than to help. We're a nonprofit, so this is a labor of love for all of us. But the reason we do this is because we feel like the information that we can share is going to be life changing and helpful. And so, what I really encourage people to do is don't be afraid to grasp a hold of this. The stuff we do is for free. Most of the resources that we're going to point you to, especially when you have the luxury of looking at these in advance, is going to be at no cost to you. So all you're going to do is invest a little bit of time to sort things out. What I mean by that is most of the elder law attorneys we work with offer free workshops. Go to a workshop, educate a little bit, because as I've talked with many of my elder law attorney friends, when stuff comes up in that realm, I always joke about this. We'll clip a coupon so we can save $1.50 on something we're going to buy next time at the grocery store. And we'll walk right past doing something for our estate planning that could mean tens of thousands of dollars difference for us and our heirs. So that's just like, push that aside. Now let's talk about things like, I'm just going to use this as another example. We're going to talk about getting some help in learning what assisted livings, what senior living options exist. So often we'll get the call from somebody who says, "Oh, mom's got to go. She can't come home safe. We got to find something over the weekend. It's got to be solved by Tuesday." And now everybody's under the gun. Instead, if you would sit down and talk with some of the people we work with who are experts at senior placement, they will all tell you the same thing. Call us when there's not, call us a year out. Let's go have lunch. Let's go start having this conversation. There's no pressure. So when the time is right, you're already going to have your ducks in a row. You're going to know who to call and say, okay, here's where we're at. We got to do something. But I liked what you showed me last October when we went through blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So those are the kind of things. This is why it's so valuable. And again, Augie, the point that I want to really bring home, I love to save money. So I'm the first one. Hey, if I can go to the movies on a Tuesday night and it's going to save me money, I'm going to do that. But we're talking about a few dollars. What we're talking about on the senior thing, we're not only talking about your finances, but if you are saying like, hey, I want to leave provision for my kids and people downstream from me, then it's all the more reason to take all of this stuff seriously.
And what I found from being a real estate broker is people don't really understand probate. And
Yes,
I'm not even going to get into all that. But if you don't have a plan, they make a plan for you, and it's
I love it.
terrible. It's terrible. So,
I just wanted to comment on that because I have one of the elder law friends we have. He and I got into a radio conversation about this. I said, so legally, you as an elder law attorney are entitled to charge 3% of an estate, right? For doing the work of probate. Well, that doesn't sound like a lot, but I said, so many people here in Florida who don't make a plan might have $1 million estate. Now that sounds like, oh wow, we're rich and famous. No, you might have a house that's worth something. You might have stuff in your 401k that's worth something. Maybe having $1 million of assets is not incredibly odd these days. But if you just told me, Mr. Attorney, that you're entitled to keep $30,000 of that because the person didn't come up with a trust, which would then avoid all that,
yes.
then it's like, that's what I say, we walk around all day trying to save $5 here, $10 there, and we'll walk right past something that would help us save 30, 40, who knows,
I agree. And that leads me to this, the importance of family conversations. One of the biggest challenges many families face is simply not having the conversations early enough. And you know why? It's uncomfortable. It's
Yes.
uncomfortable. You're talking to your parents about their money, their finances, what's going on, what are you doing? Let me look at stuff.
Yeah.
Going to my mom and saying, we need to go look at your trust. You know what she said? Why? I have a trust. Yeah, but I don't understand it or what you did. And I had to
Right.
browbeat her to go, but she went. And you know what? We feel uncomfortable, especially when it's that role of saying, no, I really feel like I need to help you in this scenario. And having that conversation, people don't want to feel uncomfortable, Kerry. They don't want to feel
No.
uncomfortable. Guess what? I'm telling you to feel uncomfortable. Do it anyway. Do it anyway.
I have a friend, and I always give him credit because I thought this was a brilliant statement. His name is Troy Denault. He has a company called Sotir LLC. He is a senior placement specialist. And he said, Kerry, he said, I have never seen a family wake up on a random Saturday morning and say, you know what we should do today? We should go tour assisted living facilities. It's just not, you don't really, it's not in your wheelhouse. These are not fun things to do, but nevertheless, you're going to pay for it. The question is, do you want to pay a lot later or do you want to try to get ahead of the aging curve? And I think, as a kid, I was a Boy Scout, and the number one
Why
motto
isn't that
was be
surprising?
prepared. So you're supposed to think about these things and do the best you can to make a plan. It's not to get in the way of your life; it's to help you enjoy your life and have the peace. And what your point is so well taken about making sure that the family has that conversation because you don't want the kids squabbling like mom wanted this. We saw it. I have talked to so many people whose mom is in some kind of, or father is in some kind of a medical crisis, and the kid who's there locally has been there sleeping by the bedside in the hospital and all that. And here comes the kid from out of town who just has arrived on the scene, and now they think they're going to save the day. And because of that, there's a whole discrepancy. Like, well, you don't know everything that's already gone on up to now, but now you're so. But if mom or dad has already put together, this is how this needs to work. It keeps the family peace too. You
Right.
know.
And that's what I hope this podcast will reach is yes, it's uncomfortable, but I'm going to walk through the discomfort because guess what? You're not going to die from it. You're just going to feel a little uncomfortable. And when you're done, you will feel like the weight of the world has been lifted from your shoulders because many adults don't know where their financial documents are for their parents. They don't know where anything is. Now all of a sudden they're incapacitated. My mother was in a hospital bed, like incoherent for 7 days. I couldn't ask her anything. I couldn't ask
Right.
her, but I already knew where everything was. I already know everything.
So important.
Fortunately, I'm that pushy, bossy person. Not everybody's like that, but there are some advantages. I will say that. But it would make my mom uncomfortable. Mom, I've got to help you. You've got to trust me because parents are used to being the parents, and kids are used to being the parents, regardless of
Yeah.
age.
Yeah.
But you have to go, what's my turn now to help you? And that's how you turn it
Right.
around. It's my turn. You have been good to me, and I want to be good to you. And there are things that we need to talk about because guess what? And when you have a circumstance, this happened, and I didn't know this, and now my mom's cooperating with me more. So the parents' housing preferences too. We talked about that, and then who has the legal authority if an emergency occurs? Who's in charge?
Yeah.
Who's in charge? The nurse isn't going to be in charge. You know what I mean? When they go home. So I want to tell you, I had that experience with my mother. I want to talk about like how I got to talk to my mom about financial stuff, which is very
Mm-hmm.
uncomfortable for me. I'm going to tell you, it's like you feel like you're almost imposing upon or
Mm-hmm.
prying. But my mother, when she was out of the hospital and home. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
know if she was going to need care in the house. So I pulled
Mm-hmm.
out all her papers and I called she said, oh no, call my guy at Ameriprise. Okay. Well, the
Mm-hmm.
guy that she'd been with for many, 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 many years retired and gave her to another guy. Okay.
Right.
And I'm not going to say anybody's names. They're not from around here, but yeah, I go to call and guess what? It said that number is no longer in service.
Wow.
I had heart failure. Okay. Did this guy just leave? I mean, I didn't know. Well, it turns out he moved somewhere else. Didn't.
Sure.
I spoke to him and said, my mom has a hard time hearing. So you need to communicate through me. He never sent us an email. I said, Mom, I want to change your financial guy. I don't trust him. Well, then I go to someone else in our family that was recommended, and they put my 90-year-old mother in an annuity that she cannot touch until 2028. A 90-year-old cannot touch her money, or she'll pay a $35,000 penalty.
Wow.
Now, you know what I can do about it now? Nothing. Nothing. I didn't help her get this. I don't know that I could have prevented this, but now all of a sudden you're stuck with these things and you're going,
Yeah.
OMG, what do I do now? It's very frustrating. And that's why now I'm doing it, but gosh, I wish I could have known somehow. I don't know how we know earlier. I'm saying have the conversation. I wish I
Yes.
woulda, coulda, shoulda. It isn't pretty, and I can't go there because I wish I would have made it that mom at some point earlier. If you're going to be making decisions, let's talk about it together and help you make certain everything's being done. Because guess what? Not everybody out there is trustworthy, Carrie. I'm sure you're surprised with that, right?
Well, we do a lot of scam jams because of
I
just that fact, right?
Yes, yes, yes. And so that's what I think is really important. And my mom, she keeps all her papers in the freezer, in a bag, it's a
Okay.
freezer bag, because if anything happens to your house, it's in the freezer. It's typically remains safe. So that's where she likes it. I know exactly where to go to get the papers. I just got to go to the freezer, dust off the iceberg. Um, but parents and their children, Honoring their wishes is one thing, helping them understand their wishes is another thing. Helping them
Mhm.
understand the evolution of who they are. You know, it's like I want to talk to my mom now because she's not going to drive. It's a nice place. I'm having a hard time saying to my mom, "I want you to go look at this place," because now you feel like you're hurting their feelings by trying to displace them from their homes. I think that's a
Right.
great conversation to have at the helping seniors. It's like, how do we do that? Well, let's role play or something, because it's hard to say. I haven't done it. I keep wanting to, but I feel like she's just gone through this. Just gone through this. It's very hard to go to my mother. I think this is the next step too. So we
Well,
need help.
you know,
We need help.
to get into that, this is one of the reasons why we do again the stuff like the Knowledge College and the Wellness Series and all these education programs, because we want to help people start to find ways in on that. So, like a good, that's why any of the folks that we work with who are senior placement associates, they would love for you to start talking with them long before there's a need. So you may have to come in sideways and say, "Hey, mom, we're going to have lunch today, and then we're going to go shopping," or whatever the thing would be. But we're going to have lunch. They're going to buy us lunch at such and such a living place, and you're going to go there with a senior advisor, because they work for you. They're not going to be under pressure. You understand, as a real estate agent, what you're trying to do is find the best fit for your customer. You want to be successful in getting the deal done,
Right.
but not at the cost of finding the wrong place for them. And that's the same idea behind a senior placement. They get paid when the person actually moves into a place, but quite frankly, they don't care which place you move into. They want to get you to the right place. And I love one of the ladies that we work with. Her name is Denise Bergman with Senior Care Authority. And she goes, "Kerry," she said, "I don't want them to have to move after they got there because it wasn't a good fit. I would rather take the time, so there's plenty of time. So when they move, it's the right move, and we don't have to disrupt them. They found a home. This is where they're going to live, and they're going to enjoy it." And one of the problems that we talk about a lot in this particular area, Augie, is that we all carry with us baggage from when we were kids and we went to the old folks' home to see
Right.
great uncle so and so, and
Yeah.
we remember it was dark, it was scary. People maybe smelled. It was like you didn't know, crazy people coming around the corner. And it did not leave us with great childhood memories about what it was like to go to the quote old folks home. Nothing could be further from the truth
Yeah.
than where we are. Think about it. Literally 60, 70 years later, it has come a long way, baby.
Long way. And another facet of that is um, making certain that you have provisions to transition to places that, because they
Exactly.
are not cheap to live in. I'll tell you that,
No,
they're not.
you want a master plan. And so when you sit down with an advisor, they're going to sit there and look at all the finances. They're going to try to make sure they answer the question to make sure you don't run out of money. We have the lady who is the treasurer for our nonprofit. Her name is Tisha Hill. She's a financial advisor, and she says, "Kerry, they really don't call it retirement planning anymore. They call it longevity planning, because they want people to make sure that in their thinking the money is going to be sufficient for their lifetime." And again, you can't assume that you're checking out at age 80 anymore. That's not a reasonable assumption. You're gonna,
I know, it's
you
really
know.
not. It's really not. It's crazy, but and the thing is like people want to live in places like my mom. She needs to go somewhere where she can be socially connected, but she doesn't need a lot of health. She doesn't need to be laying in a bed. So there's so many varieties to choose from as well.
Right.
That could take a whole podcast by itself. So let's get
Yes.
back into the team concept. Here's what I put. Tell me
Mhm.
if you think I missed
Mhm.
anything. The team would include an elder law attorney, right?
Mhm.
A
Mhm.
financial advisor,
Mhm.
maybe a CPA, an
Mhm.
insurance professional,
Mhm.
healthcare providers, home health
Mhm.
agencies, a real estate
Mhm.
professional, assisted living advisor, estate planning professionals. How many? I mean, you have an array of your sponsors that provide these services,
Mhm.
correct?
Yes. And interestingly enough, Augie, as you know, as a nonprofit, we're real careful to not go, this is the person you need to talk to. If you call us up and say, I need a referral for this kind of a service. Let's say real estate. We have a number of people that we feel like you go to which one fits you best, but we can tell you these are all credible professional people who everything that we've seen from them and the way they've helped folks that we've encouraged them to connect with in the past has been 100% for their benefit. So you know that they've been vetted and that these are people you can trust. Now it's up to you to select the one that maybe you mesh with, the chemistry is right, you feel like they really understand what you're trying to get done. But these are all good professional people. And to your point, you want to get people who you feel like you could. A couple of things. I always laugh about some of the people we work with. I feel like I could call any of them at 3 o'clock in the morning, wake them out of a deep sleep and said, what do we do about this? And they don't have to think. They'll go, this is what we do with that case. And so that would be reassuring. But the second thing is you want to find people that you feel like explaining the road. Like if, think about it with a doctor. You don't have to be the doctor. And you don't want to know everything the doctor does, but you do want the doctor to be able to explain, I think you need to do this procedure. This is how it's going to work. This is how it works when it works well. These are some things we have to watch out for, but they've explained it to you in a way so you can make an intelligent decision based on the information you've been presented.
And I'm going to interject something here that I think another good thing that you're doing that I'm going to participate is I think that your Golden Providers
Yes.
certification will even help people more because these people have gone an extra level
Yes.
to really understand the whole evolution of aging. There's a variety of people, but
Mm-hmm.
I think that's going to become very prevalent. And that's something I know that people will be able to look for. I'm excited because my plan is to attend the next class, which if you're listening in, Golden Providers, it will be January 29th,
Yes.
2027. Am I correct, Kerry?
You said it 100% right.
Yes. So that's another thing to look for because being more educated about the process, I think gives an edge up and it gives
Yes.
credibility and trust. So I think it's a
Mm-hmm.
really great thing that everyone in your organizations has done to put together. So here's what I think every family should know the answers to these questions. And if I've missed something, please let me know. Is there a living will? Is there a health care surrogate? Is there a durable power of attorney? Where are these important documents kept? Because preparation ensures that loved ones can be honored and no longer able to speak for themselves. Kerry, what advice do you have for families who haven't started this process yet?
Don't delay. Get started today. I think as I explained, we will help anybody at any point in their journey. It's just so much easier when there's time involved because how many of us know we make the best decisions when we're under the maximum stress, just because of the circumstances, and that we have to make a decision right away about something that we're not particularly knowledgeable about. Of course, that's when we're going to make the worst decision. If you can back a time frame out and give yourself time to explore all your options, you're going to find there's less expensive options, you're going to have a greater plethora of choices, and you're going to have the time to shop for somebody you really feel comfortable working with that you feel you can trust to help you navigate what you're trying to do. You get so many bonus points for being ahead of the curve. So just let's do that. Let's get ahead of the curve.
Yes, I agree 100. The other thing I want to just kind of touch upon is medication management as well.
Yes.
When my mom came and stayed with us after she was done rehab,
Mm-hmm.
she wanted to bring her whole cabinet over of her medication.
Mm-hmm.
She got confused with them. So I wanted
Mm-hmm.
people to be aware of the compliance packaging that they can do
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
with the blister packs. They made
Yes.
life much more manageable. It was a little hard for my mom to, it's simple, but that sometimes our seniors, our older seniors, have difficulty learning something new. But it's very simple. It goes straight across the whole month, and you don't want them getting messed up with their medication. So I think that's another thing to help your parent or loved one. And I have a friend that she's helping her aunt, helping them be a little bit more aware of the medications and the confusions that they start getting confused about things sometimes, and that's not something you want. Is so I wanted to touch upon that's really an important thing. So, Kerry, I think we've touched on a lot today. I
Good.
just think it's an important conversation. There are so many resources, but in order to utilize these resources, we have to be willing to have the conversations, helping ourselves, or even if it's a conversation with yourself. I feel like my husband and I, this has made me realize I didn't have my ducks. I went and I started my trust. I didn't have one. And now, I feel like I've gone to a number of the programs at the senior center.
Hmm?
I've learned stuff. I've learned
Yes.
stuff. You can learn more all the time. And
Hmm?
I just think your wisdom and your experience and your team is amazing at um, helping seniors. You guys do a fantastic job. I would also like to bring up one more thing. Tell
Hmm?
me why you do the car show, the raffle. What is behind the raffle?
Well, as a nonprofit, Augie, thanks for asking. I always tell people, as a nonprofit, we have no reason to exist other than to serve the people that we choose. That we're trying our best to serve, and because of that, I remember Joe Steckler saying, "Kerry, it's hard to raise money for a nonprofit. Think about it. It's a business where you have to get other people to help you finance the work that you do so that you can give away everything you do for free." I mean,
Yes.
it's like a horrible business model, right? But the point, so Joe was like, you need to find ways that are good for people to help, and he had hit on the idea of a car raffle many years ago with his friend AJ Hires, and he said it's a fun way to get people involved because it's not like you're just asking for a handout saying, please donate to our charity. There is a possibility you could go home with a new car, and in our world, it's gotten better than that. AJ is still helping us all these years. We're actually in the middle of our 10th annual car raffle right now. But Mark Pylock, who owns that beautiful American Muscle Car Museum, it's basically his private garage with 500 cars inside of it. And the only time you can go there is when he opens it up for a charity event. Well, ever since he's had the museum, he's allowed us to have a big party and a grand drawing there. So on Sunday, October 25th in the afternoon, 1 p.m. to 4 p.m., he's going to open up the museum. Everybody who has raffle tickets is invited to come out. Each ticket is your admit one to the museum. There's a big car show going on outside. It's just a fun day. We call it Sunday afternoon at the museum, but with a twist because in the afternoon, we will drag out the barrel with everybody's raffle tickets, pull out one ticket, and that person is going home in their selection of one of 7 brand new cars from the AJ Hires family dealerships. And so, what it really does for us, Augie, is it lets us have a fundraiser that helps the work of helping seniors keep going forward because we can't do it without your help. And at the same time, it's a fun thing. You get something, you're donating, you're helping keep the work going. You might win a car, and you don't have to be present to win. But if you can be at the museum, you're getting a great value for your money because you get to tour a collection that is literally world class, and you can't get there unless you're able to be part of some kind of an event where Mark has opened the museum for a charity. So there you have it.
The $64,000 question. How do I get a ticket?
So it's easy. You donate for your ticket. One ticket is $25 donation, or the best thing is you get 5 tickets for a $100 donation. And so that gives you 5 chances to win the car, cuts the cost per ticket, and then you can take 4 of your friends with you to the museum when you come out that day. So it's great fun for everybody. And get this, if you have kids or grandkids under 12, they come with you for free. So it really is we're trying to encourage it to be a family-friendly Sunday afternoon. How do you get the tickets? I'm going to give you 2 real good ways right now. You can call and order tickets by phone at our main number, 321-473-7770. I'll say it again, 321-473-7770. Or you can go directly online. This is easy enough to remember: helpingseniorscarraffle.com. Helpingseniorscarraffle.com, and get some tickets today.
I think it's a grand idea. And I didn't get to go to last year's. I was out of town, but I plan to go. I've been to the
Just you
and
wait.
for a different time. It is an amazing, amazing thing. So, y'all, I highly suggest that you support this. It's fun, and you're helping a great organization. So I'm going to wrap it up with this. Preparation isn't about expecting the worst. It's about creating peace of mind. It's about preserving choices. It's about honoring the wishes of the people that we love and helping them with their decisions. And it's about honoring ourselves by planning proactively so we can live our best life. Because life's golden transitions are inevitable, but how we prepare for them is a choice. The best time to prepare for golden transitions is before life requires one. In today's conversation, if today's conversation encourages you to talk with your parents, your children, your spouse, or even with yourself about your own future, then Kerry, you and I have accomplished something meaningful. I
Absolutely.
really, really appreciate that you took the time to have this conversation with me at Boomer Bites. It isn't about having all the answers, it's about starting the conversation. Conversations will help us prepare for the future. So, with that, I am Agi Anderson signing off from Mars Mission Control. Thanks for joining us. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode of Boomer Bites. And until then, choose to be a proactive pro ager and live your best life.